Things are going to start happening to me now.
I think Tyler is amazing.
And I'm a fan of this show. I've watched several episodes.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. You stink, Tyler.
Never promise crazy a baby.
Oh, I like that. That's a cool idea.
Are either of you homosexuals?
I go both ways. What do you think?
You mean like flaming or?
No, we're not homosexual, but we are willing to learn.
But I do wonder, for others, in other cases, whether libertarianism today is just an excuse for many on the right to act selfishly.
Look at me. And then some fat asses in Washington started having opinions. The Olympic Committee started having opinions. You bitch, I know you! You started writing your opinions.
And it just makes me wonder, you're dead, bitch. You know, why are you doing this to this poor guy?
I don't care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is...
Did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
Welcome. This is Tyler Yonke, LPR. It's a what day is today? It is a Tuesday. How you doing? I took a little bit of time off. Damn, Dave's face has gotten so much wider since that interview. You know what? You know what? So has mine. So has mine, Hubblesome. Welcome over, everybody coming in here. Let me give you a little. I'm going to give you an update to what's been going on with me. And then we're gonna do. I had. Let's go to the thumbnail here. J fatigue and more drama. Yeah, that's what it is. But I think I'm going to do something different instead. What about this thing? What about Ashley St. Clair doing a podcast talking about how she doesn't have any money? Well, I'm sorry. Wide-faced boys, mine too. I'm sorry. We talked about this. You had a deal in place. He was taking care of you, and then you decided to disrupt that. And with the disruption, you decided to do what? File a motion to have child support set. And so the court's going to order that. Now he no longer has to pay for your fucking apartment. And if you're not able to afford it, that's on you. You had a deal. You decided to disrupt all that. That's what we're going to talk about with this Ashley St. Clair horror thing. Oh, is that Elon's seed bank? Yeah. Banned Photoshop. What are we drinking tonight? Let me tell you about this. So I'm working and my wife's like, look, I'm going to meet my friend, this friend of hers, at our favorite place, this Italian restaurant. It's in walking distance. So she's like, she's not able to come until, so it's 6:20 here in the Pacific Coast. Okay. So at 4 o'clock, I came home. We went over there. We had a drink. I ordered a pizza. I brought it home. And then her friend's like, I can't make it till 6. She was supposed to be there at 5. So I had 2 drinks. I came home, slammed some of the pizza. I'm not drinking anymore, but it's called Moonraker. It's a local brewery. Cool. That was one of them. It was a New England IPA. It's basically a hazy. And then I had a West Coast, Mosca brewing. So those are what I had tonight, and there we go. So let's break back into when I last, it's like you watch a TV show and it's like last week. So I'm going to catch you up as to what I had. I had a 4-day trial, okay? Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. And then my wife was already down at her sister's place in Morro Bay. And it's kind of like almost Southern California. It's San Luis Obispo, Paso Robles. There, if you look it up on the map, right out there on the coast. They have a house down there, and they were taking a vacation. She's take care of the dog. So she went down there on Saturday, and I had to work Saturday, Sunday. Well, I didn't work so much Saturday, but I worked Sunday, prepping for this trial. And then went in and had the last 2 days. I think I talked to you guys about it because I was going to do a show Sunday or Monday, and then our boy Graypilled said, hey, you want to join me? So I did that. So I posted that out, and we talked about some legal stuff on there. So go check that out. Now, like and subscribe this show because I'm coming up on Friday. I am going to be on, is this live, Minder says? Yes, it is. I'm going to be on, let's do the full chat here. Nephilim Death Squad. I'm going to be on their show on Friday, and at this point, Remember when Indecent Proposal was a fictional movie? Yes, I do remember that. That movie was when I think I was a senior in college. Let's look that up. Indecent Proposal movie. And it bothered me because I was like, the girl I was dating at 1993. So almost, I graduated in 94 in college. The girl I was dating at the time, I was like, I could see her going for this. So it bothered me. Robert Redford, Demi Moore, Woody Harrelson, Oliver Platt, et al. So I didn't necessarily like that movie, and I thought it was a horrible proposition. Anyway, I don't need to get into that. The point is, wife went down there, and then I went down there and joined her on. I was hoping that this trial was going to be over early. It was fairly simple from my point of view. It was a couple 30-year marriage. We had agreed on the date of separation. Date of separation is really when you stop living and you indicated by intention to the other party that you're no longer living as a married couple. Okay, that's the date of separation. And so it's very subjective, okay? Sometimes it's people like, is it when you filed? It doesn't have to be. You know, there's precedent and there's case law about situations where parties are still living together, but they're determined to be separated. There's other cases where they're not living together, but they're determined to be together. That's kind of what our situation was. My client was saying it was years ago. And then we had done discovery, and it was going on since, we set this thing for trial in end of 2023. And I reached out I talked to my client. I'm like, why'd you pick this date? It's like 2012. And he's like, well, I don't know, didn't have to pay spousal support. And I'm like, you're a long-term marriage. You can pay it anyway. But why this date? Is there anything significant? And he's like, no, probably the actual date is what she's saying it is in 2023. So I reached out to her and I said, hey, let's agree on this date of separation. And she had already put in a filing to the court that he's not believable. His credibility on a separate issue is not even believable because he is claiming the date of separation is not what that's her, not claiming to be what I claim to be. She had an attorney at the time. And so she goes through there. She has text messages where he's still, lovey-dovey shit to her. And so anyway, so after that, I'm like, yeah, let's agree to it. Your date of separation, we'll agree to it. It helps with discovery. Then we had multiple discovery issues. So if you go in through discovery, you can ask for production of documents, interrogatories, whatnot. And why did you need them back to 1985? Why did you need something back to 2012? The date of separation is November of 2023. So we had been making, so I had put in one thing I messed up was we didn't put it in stipulated in and have it as a court order that the date of separation actually was what she stated it was, what we had agreed to. But we had emails back and forth, and then I had multiple filings where I'm like, we have agreed that the date of separation is X, Y, and Z, November of 2023. And then I said, we have also made arguments and in multiple filings about discovery that she shouldn't be able to go back way back past 2023, maybe 22, maybe even 2021 for discovery. And the court kept ruling on that. Anyway, point is, we go to trial. Now she doesn't have an attorney. Now she wants to push trial off. She's got all these speculations about he's got businesses and he's commingling and he's concealing everything. And it's really a lunacy. Okay. And so we had to do first thing was do a trial on the date of separation and then spousal support. And then that was the first 2 days. And then the second 2 days, we're going to do property division. And I think I talked to you guys a little bit about this, which was we won the date of separation. It's kind of what it was. There was, a lot of, anyway, that was crazy. Then we're doing spousal support. We had what's called a vocational evaluation, which is an expert comes in and says what she can do for work and whatnot. We have that. And then she freaks out on Friday. The judge does a competency issue with her and brings the court reporter in and asks her questions. Can she continue? She wants to continue. Are you competent to do this? Because you're not being able to answer, certain questions. Are you on drugs? Those kind of things. And then she runs out of the courtroom at 3:30 on Friday. We're supposed to go to 4:30, and so we split. So anyway, we won the date of separation. We come back in Monday, Tuesday, we're no better. And it was a shit show. We could have had these done quick and easy, and we got it all done at the last minute at 4 o'clock on Tuesday, and then I drove down and saw my wife and hung out with her. So I had a little bit of vacation. I just worked from home there. And there's a lot going on in the world since then. Okay, Hubblesome says, remember, okay, we already said that. Yes, it's live. He will be covering the tour soon. Who is Ashley again? Yeah, so just so you know, Jordan, the Tour de France is over. But starting on Saturday, we have the Vuelta a España, the Tour of Spain, which is maybe my favorite race of the year, okay? This one, Spain has these extreme climbs, these short, steep climbs, and I absolutely love it. American won it 2 years ago, Sepkus from Durango, Colorado. Love him. Not gonna probably win this one. Who knows what's gonna happen, but I'm gonna be following that, so go follow my Between Two Wheels podcast. But once again, over on Nephilim Death Squad, we are going to be showing, talking about Leo Frank. I'm going to be over there on Friday, people, talking about Leo Frank. I've gone deeper and deeper and deeper into this. We're going to talk about the basics. Maybe it's going to be a multiple part session. I've already done one with myself, but also with Pete Quinones. But I've gone further into some of this, and I think it's somewhat fascinating. So go join us over there on Nephilim Death Squad. ADL just had, it just was yesterday. In 1913, yesterday, August 18, yesterday, Leo Frank actually testified. We're going to talk about that. His death was the 17th, August 17th in 1915. He was lynched. So we're going to talk about that as well. There's just a lot of fascinating stuff. And the ADL is just fomenting hate and all kinds of stuff. So we're going to go over all of that. Now look, here's what, let's go here. I saw this, I'm going to play a short clip here at the end here. Michael Malice went on dressed as a cop, and he did this debate, and this, good for this other cop here. He was good, but actually Michael Malice kind of destroyed him, and I wish you all would actually go listen to it. This was pretty good with, but a lot of people are idiots. Let's just play, I don't even remember what this is about. Let's play this clip here.
Sure. All right, so how would I handle organized crime, right?
How would that address large organized crime? Because
so one of the big issues that organized crime starts to begin with is black markets. Right, we saw this very quickly in America. What happened with the rise of the mafia was prohibition, and after a while, they started shooting enough cops that the cops were like, "I'm not enforcing this law," and they repealed the law. So if you have things like increased, you see in Colorado, right? If you have this kind of gang take over an apartment building, and you have a community where everyone's armed, everyone has this sense of community, very quickly, it's going to have to be someone's going to have to be violent at some point. Right now, it's just kind of the cops are going to come in. Otherwise, it would be much harder to come in to begin with. But there's no easy. Anyone who tells you there's an easy answer when you have a large population with weapons who are intent on doing you harm, there's no one sense to answer this in any situation.
So if somebody has to go in there and they have to be violent, wouldn't you prefer to be a police officer that's held liable by the community instead of a bunch of individuals that can do it without any sort of use of force training?
One day of gun training? No.
So just to back up here, this guy just talked about how horrible the New York police were because their training was down, and they were different load calibrators for their pressure for their trigger, just all kinds of stuff, just making it like, oh, New York cops are horrible. And now he's saying this. So it's a good point here.
Where I disagree.
And by the way, they don't have a very good accountability. We've talked about that as well. I found it was an interesting debate, and I think what's important with the anarchy point of view, which Malice points out here, is it breaks the brains. And by the way, you don't have to take that. You can take the blue line and whatnot, the pro cop point of view, but you've got to listen to what he says here, because he's not radical of like, you eliminate the cops. It blows these people's brains out to think about, you can have everything's great for private, everything else but this. And it's just like, how about if we have a little competition, it can actually work, or it makes the other actual cops better. Okay. And by the way, I didn't think this cop was ridiculous, but
with you is I don't think cops are ever held liable, or else all those cops who killed all those dogs would be rotting in jail right now.
All right, guys, that is...
Okay. So there we go. And Alex Stein there. So that was one thing I was going to talk about. Then I was going to talk about this thing. Wait. Here we go. Actually, I want to try... I want this one. Let's try this one here. okay, this was a case that came up, and a lot of misreporting on this as well. So this is where I get involved in some of these case laws issues, is because, you know, stuff comes up. This legal group hails breakthrough as U.S. judge equates Israeli flag with Jewish identity, and they're like, oh my God, you can't destroy. You can burn the U.S. flag, but you can't destroy the Israeli flag. That's not what this case was about. Just so you know. I think there's some bad rulings in this, but it's not precedents per se. It's just case law that this federal judge did. It was basically two people at Code Pink person, pro-Palestinian, and a Jewish person at a rally. The Jewish person had a flag, like a cape, around their neck. I don't know why they were desecrating it like that, but they were. And the Palestinian person, apparently, now they said they had their kafifa or whatever it's called, got tangled up in it. But I think the reality is they pulled on the flag on this person's neck. So then they file a claim against them. And this judge comes out and said, and look, by the way, I've got the memorandum, I got the order here, I've got the filings, whatnot. There's multiple things here. But what the judge is basically, he does an analysis and says, hey, this flag, the Jewish flag, the Israeli flag is actually an identity of being a Jew. And I'm like, no. So this judge overextends himself. But the reality is, was he able to then get a restraining order based on the actions? And the guy broke everything down. So the Jewish flag thing doesn't even really make any sense as to why it is, except for that there's a protected class and they go through all that stuff. Okay, fine. So I don't know that the ramifications. Now, I think the Jews are going to, and the ADL is going to use this as a real push point, and they're going to push back against it, and they're going, and not push back, they're going to use it as a cudgel and a hammer. But I think it can actually be deflected. Because the reality of this case is this person did, according to this, actually, you could get a restraining order. I've talked about this before. Restraining orders are easy to get. Okay, it's not a beyond a reasonable doubt standard. Okay, it's a preponderance of the evidence. So that can actually happen. The flag as a part of that, it's not so significant. It's not as what people are saying quite to the same extent. And if you really wanted to, I could break that down, but I don't think I'm going to actually. Another situation you had recently this, let's see if I can find this here. This is Sean King. I'm actually following Sean King here. He broke this story about breaking news that Trump administration helped Netanyahu's cyber chief after his Las Vegas arrest for child sex crimes. This faggot right here was trying to get a 15-year-old. Now, I saw someone there saying, no, he was on some adult app, and like, I don't, it could be. We saw Ritter, I was complaining about this before, saying Scott Ritter was a pedo, got convicted, and everyone's like, whoa. He was doing nefarious shit, as far as like calling out the government shit, and therefore they set him up. Okay, then is that what's happening with this guy? Did he get set up too? Or is he a sex pervert? I mean, which one is, you get to pick and choose which ones it is. Maybe I get it. So anyway, this guy gets picked up and then he gets let go. And then what's interesting is Sean King, who, let's be honest, he claims to be black, but he's not. But take that aside. His reporting could still be true. It's like this Aguilar guy, right? That goes over, he's a military guy. He goes over to Gaza. And now people are saying, he had abuse issues with his wife. Now, I think that's been debunked by Village Crazy Lady, the Mel, quite extensively. And she did a really good job as someone who had been a former paralegal and just kind of understands. We had this employee, and all of a sudden he was, and by the way, at some point I will get into this, but there's still ongoing issues with it. He faked court filings, okay, to a client that he wasn't our client. He claimed it was our client. Anyway, he was just taking clients on. He was pretending to be an attorney, pretending to work under the guise of my law firm, and he was incommunicado. And this guy's then just reaches out to me and is like, hey, where is this guy? And I'm like, he's on vacation. Oh, I don't know, actually. He said he was on vacation. Point is, he's like, sends me filings and is like, look, he filed this to court, $485. And first thing I thought was, that's not a legitimate court filing fee here in California. It's $435. $485 is wrong. just like Mel did, the crazy village crazy lady, she saw something that was posted as far as this Aguilar guy, and she's like, that does not make sense, knowing the court systems and how they I think it was a birth date or something else that they had. So my point in all that is, I don't remember what the connection I had. This guy, however, he Sting. And you're looking into a case, he gets arrested, and then he gets let off going to Israel. So all that, you're just like, wait, what? And now it's very suspicious. Did the Trump administration let this go? They don't want to give anything. It's a nothing burger. Don't look here with, Epstein. But this guy, we're just going to let go. Plus, when you take into account it's a foreign national, and he's got a passport, he's not over here. Why are you not putting a bond to the point where he's got to show up? This is a problem. Here. Okay, the Red Instant says, good evening, sir. We probably end up getting cyberpunk world, though, where corporations just own cities and shit. Could be. But I mean, this is always the argument, Helbelson, which is you bring upon a situation that is no different than what we've got now, okay? Right? Sean King, as an example, had all his tweets and posts about this removed. This guy, evidently, you remember when Grok went crazy a few weeks ago and started, going down the rabbit hole of Jew pilled? Evidently, this is the guy, according to Grok himself, that got that system that shut down from Israel. So he's like on their side. He's their cyber chief. So he got that shit shut down. Now, Sean King had all the tweets he posted and his stuff taken down about this. That reminds me back here, which is Sean King can be faking gay about his identity politics, but it doesn't mean what he's saying here is incorrect. Just like Aguilar. Was he saying what was incorrect? Was his data? No, they're going after him personally, because now when you shun all that, then you don't have to listen to everything he says about that. So I might watch as long as Tim Pool doesn't endlessly blabber on and on. Actually, you should watch this one. Tim Pool doesn't get involved as much. He says a few things, and it's mostly Michael Malice and this cop, and then what's the skater guy that was shown there at the end? He's a former skater. He did a podcast thing with Tony Hawk. He did MMA fighting. Is it Jason something? And then he's also homo, or he's bi. I don't know. Restrainer order from being within 1,000 feet of a Jew flag. Okay. He looks like Nate Bargatze. He does, mixed with the. So Grok got him arrested for child pestering and revenge. maybe that's, there's really too many cooks in the kitchen with the Grok AI. Look, I will say this, and by the way, I just saw this on the Lawyer, because these things are coming out fast and furious, which is, let's take a look here. YouTube. Okay, Lawyer, should pop up here. Where is it at? There you go. So let's take a look here, because he did a show just recently. It's not the.
But also, hey, maybe this is the AI me sitting here with you. Where is the world going with AI? Is it really taking our jobs? And again, that's kind of a theme. I don't know what order we're going to play these videos in that we recorded this week.
The point is, there's an order here where the judge went off on some people are using AI to write their pleadings, and these are some big firms. And they've been getting caught. It's like fake case law. I mean, using this, you deserve to get shit on for that kind of stuff. I use Grok in a few ways, which is I'll do this. I'll like ask it a question, or chat GPT, or even like I use Brave AI, and it comes up with stuff. But usually then I want to have the links to the actual sources, and then I go look it up. I go look up the cases. Or if it's about, sometimes I've talked about, I've wanted to know about, situations in Israel, like populations and whatever. And it gives me something, and then it gives me ideas of where to look for stuff to go and verify. And some of that stuff you could probably believe, and we've used that in there as well. Elon wants an AI that thinks like him, but in the ends up throwing it wildly off. Yeah, that's true. I'm willing to look at Talcum's evidence. I don't know who Talcum is. Hi, Hubblesome. Hi, Tyler. How you doing, JC? Oh my God. Okay, so let's maybe get into, because I think I just want to play this. I think I just want to get to this thing here. So those are the kind of some things you had. By the way, I've seen Liberty Lockdown, Clint Russell do a thing about, and you know, he was at the Ron Paul's birthday, 90th birthday, and he did a thing with Dave Smith, and he asked him about Nick Fuentes. And then Dave has done some stuff about Nick Fuentes. And people in here last week were wrong about Nick Fuentes too. And I've tried to push back, which is people are like, Nick has every right, this is what they claim. Nick has every right to bash on and go after Tucker and Candace because they came after him first. No, that is not correct. We've done shows and there's been enough time in between. You could actually just go watch my shows for the timeline, which is Candace had Nick on and did an interview. Then Nick rebuffed and he got all pissy and he went wild online and he started to bitch and complain about Candace Owens. And that's when I first said, these are two females doing The View. They're two pissy bitches going at each other. So he retaliated at Candace behind her back, which I thought was pretty shitty. Why didn't you do it in front of her while you're there? He didn't do it while he's there because he's kind of a bitch, a female bitch. And then he went and did it on his own. And then Tucker brings it up he's like, hey, what's the big deal with Nick? He was just on your show. And then Candace talks about that. So them bringing it up is in response. Now, is that any different female behavior? No. But my point is, it's not like Nick is just, I went and did an interview and I'm just kicking back and my feet are up in the air and I'm just bashing the Jews and suddenly Candace and Tucker are coming after me. That's not the sequence of events. He went hog wild on them first and then they made a reaction and it's all pussy behavior, but that's my point. So Dave was wrong on this and you know, I get it. He's not, anyway, that's what it is. That default Google AI is good, which showing the source links. I don't use Google. I use Brave, so I don't know anything about that. Dickie says, good morning. Okay. Catboy spurged out. Yeah, he did. Nick became a different person after the Candace interview that he was during it. Oh, completely. Go easy on Nick Fuentes. He was on his period. This is like anything, right? Which is, you can, and by the way, I played this. This is when JFK was running and possibly going to, they're like, is he the next libertarian? I came in and I said, look, you can find someone that has his points of view that you don't need to go after him, in consolidation with him. And I read an article of Pete Quinones, and who was he ripping? He was ripping, James Lindsay. Ripping James Lindsay, saying we don't need him. We have other people that have done better work and they have better bona fides that you can go and you know, hitch your wagon to. I'm all for that. I don't think Nick Fuentes is the guy you need to hitch your wagon to. If you want someone in that realm, hitch it to someone who's had some pussy. That's all I'm saying. And what I mean by that is willingly. Way to go over there. I'm glad you guys are all joining. Okay, let's play a little bit of this. And I got it at 1.25. Am I gonna play the whole thing? Possibly, because I've got a problem with her. And I said that before. Remember, she had an apartment. It was being paid for. She was getting a lot of money. He gave her a big offer and she said no. Matter of fact, they're going to call you out on Twitter, Ashley St. Clair to Elon Musk. And then she filed in state of New York, Superior Court, or they call it Supreme Court there. And she got a court order for custody and support. So they had a court order for support, and he's like, I don't have to give you. So I'll just give you a little bit of a education here. Typically, you can give someone, if you file for support as an example, and then you go to court. By the time you file and then get to court, there could be some arrears. And sometimes the case I just had with the trial, he had been paying her money, but he was also paying her mortgage, the rent, every month. That rent is in lieu of support, okay? The court sees that. They're like, we see that you can reimburse for someone or going forward. So he was paying her rent in lieu of support. However, when you have now a court order where you're supposed to pay her X amount of money, he's like, I'm not obligated to pay this other part anymore. Fine, you take care of your own lodging. Let's see what this bitch has to say. Cross-eyed.
Well, after a year of unplanned career suicide.
Holy shit. Is this in one ear for everybody else? This is her posting this up. This is her on her own thing, and it's in one ear. This is horrible.
Many questionable life choices and a gap in my LinkedIn
And she's
profile
reading it.
cannot legally be explained. I've decided to start a podcast, not because anybody asked, but because statistically speaking, it was either this or join an MLM. So here we are. And unlike your Ben Shapiro's or your Megyn Kelly's, I'm not starting this because I think my big brain thoughts and my podcast mic are the greatest gift to humanity.
No, it's horrible.
I actually think I have the worst ideas. So consider everything out of my mouth a cautionary tale. Also, I'm getting evicted, and Polymarket offered me $10,000 to do an ad read. So with that, the roof over my head has been brought to you by Polymarket. God bless Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market, where you can place bets on who's going to win the midterms, whether Trump will release the Epstein files, or how many posts Elon Musk is going to send in a day. So thank you, Polymarket. All right, now that I have sold out in the first 60 seconds, which honestly feels appropriate, like the right tone given the allegations.
So she put the glasses, by the way, Coleman Hughes, a black guy, he used to write for, I'm trying to remember the name, but now he writes for Barry Weiss's horrible publication, and he's defended the Gaza situation on Rogan. Well, he came out and did another one, and it was really bad. And so Dave Smith breaks it down. Dave, like me, we're an unscripted show. It's just like, do you have the ability to just fucking talk? And I don't edit this. We go live, right? So Coleman Hughes, and this is what I hate, and hers might be live the whole way through. Well, it's not live, but it's recorded and then posted out as one piece. But she's reading shit, okay? Coleman Hughes was reading stuff, and it was edited, so you had all these jump clips, and it was still horrible. This is what's crazy. I get. Let's talk about Nick Fuentes, his disdain of Dave Smith real quick. Nick Fuentes, a lot of his disdain for Dave Smith is he feels that Dave is not worthy of getting the mantle. It should be Nick Fuentes. He's the ultimate. Even though his dad's Jewish, he's not really Jewish, so you can't say he's Jewish. So he gets to speak out against the Jews. But Dave Smith is only getting notoriety because he's a Jew. Okay, so everyone sees him and says, you know what? He's inoculated from some of these criticisms. He can't be Hitler because he's a Jew. Therefore, that's the reason we listen to him. I'm like, I don't really give a shit that he's a Jew. I give a shit as to his ability to make arguments. Dave hardly ever brings that up. And when he does, it's not necessarily as any kind of defense. It's more like a sideshow, being the Jewish family, or when other people bring it up, or as a joke. So to me, that's what it is. Coleman Hughes makes me feel like he's there because people are like, oh, he's a black guy that isn't quite a lefty, and oh, look at him, he plays jazz, he talks, he doesn't talk any Ebonics, and it's like, yeah, but his thought process is still pretty shitty. It's still mostly lefty, and so you can take that mantle on, you can think that those are the kind of things, and so I get it with Nick, right? But the difference is, I think Dave destroys people, and Coleman Hughes is just kind of a trashy person. Okay, let's keep going here.
We're gonna jump right into this. This is bad advice with Ashley St. Clair. Take it or leave it. Probably leave it. And I know I have to start out.
Undue hardship,
with what
yes.
Everybody's been waiting for me to talk about, the story that's dominated the headlines, the one that made the entire world go, this can't be real life. We must be living in a simulation. Elon Musk. Elon Musk's big balls. And for the uninitiated, big balls is the nickname of Elon Musk's Doge crony.
Okay, so she put on the glasses. This is about as cringe as it gets. She put on the glasses because she's reading a script. People, she's reading a script, and that's her bed right there.
Edward Cortisone, and recently he got beat up. He got attacked in Washington D.C.
So it's all edited.
Depending on who you ask, Big Balls was assaulted by a violent gang. In reality, it was two teenagers. But you know, Fox News has a strict policy that anytime there's more than one black person or migrant in the same location, it's automatically a gang. 1 is a criminal, 2 is a march, 3 is a cartel. But these kids were not exactly honor roll material, right? They roughed them up. They gave him a bloody nose. The damage was on par with what I sustained after I told my toddler he couldn't watch Paw Patrol. It was brutal, violent stuff. And why did Big Balls get beat up? Did these teenagers just jump out of the bushes saying, "This is for Martin Luther King Jr.? Close, very close. In a tale, in something that has never happened, shocking twist in all of humankind, 2 teenagers tried to steal a car. And instead of just letting them take it, Big Balls decided to intervene. He was with his girlfriend or lady partner, whatever the Musk orbit calls their non-committal fluid breeding vessel contenders these days. Big Balls apparently wanted to protect his non-committal fluid breeding vessel, looked at these 2 black teens.
This is, okay, so as an example, let's see what I could do here. I've had some pretty good tweets. Let's see what here. On this day, in August 18, 2013, Leo Frank took the stand in his defense of Mary Fagan's murder. An odd Georgia law allowed a defendant to make an unsworn statement without cross-examination. Leo rambled for 4 hours, but one statement could be seen as an admission of guilt. More on this on Friday. Missing context. Leo Frank's pardon wasn't for his guilt. Okay, so they've actually done that there because I did a quick 385 views. That's it. But did you know the DOJ and FBI arrested for throwing a hoagie at a cop? That's 155 views. The board issued a pardon to heal old wounds in the recognition of the state's failure to protect Frank from a lynching and to preserve his opportunity for further appeals. However, the pardon specifically affirmed that it did not alter the 1913 guilty verdict, with the board stating it was not taking a position on Frank's guilt or innocence. This made a pardon without exoneration, a decision based on the state's misconduct rather than a declaration of innocence. The board had previously rejected a 1983 pardon request that was based on claims of Frank's innocence, stating that new evidence such as Alonzo Mann's affidavit did not prove Frank's guilt or innocent. What do we have here? Sorry. 721 views. I mean, there's some really good posts I have, and I see people making similar posts, and they get millions or hundreds of thousands of views. And then this bitch gets out there, and 1.5 million views. Is that what it is? Let's see here. 1.8 million views on this horrible podcast thing. And by the way, is it doom scrolling? Is we are we just like me, where we're just watching it? This is what it's like to be a mid female just coasting by, just squeezing out Elon Musk's babies and getting by on that. Horrible sound.
I'm a white guy. They've got about 3/5 the right I do. I can probably take them.
Reading a script.
Turns out he could not. He got his ass beat so bad, some are calling it reparations. I'm not, of course. I would never do that. And but what I don't understand.
Oh, she's doing comedy.
Why did he just let them take the car? This kid, there's no way this kid was born in a pre-low jack world.
She's doing comedy, folks.
A 76 Chevy with no GPS capabilities, the kind of car you're never.
Oh my God.
Because otherwise, you just let them take the car and let the cops play Find My Toyota. They'll never find it, by the way. But you don't start your very first round of fisticuffs at 3 a.m. Maybe it's just me.
It's just you.
If you ever find yourself in D.C. at 3 a.m. or anywhere and 2 teenagers try to jack your car, don't fight them. Don't protect your girlfriend, your non-committal fluid breeding vessel. There's tons of those. Don't play hero. Just give them the keys, hand them your Spotify login, and go home. You're not Batman. You're not even Robin. You're the NPC that gets punched in the face in the tutorial mission. Ugh. Now here's where it gets good. One moment.
Oh, wait. She's got her giant...
The White House in all of its brilliance is apparently, I'm not making this up, this is real headlines, the White House is apparently considering giving Big Balls the Presidential Medal of Freedom for getting his ass beat.
So first of all, if you're going to post something up like this, you got to leave it up for more than just 2 seconds. So she's doing this on like her phone, and then she cuts and posts this in there. 2 weeks after 19-year-old Edward Corristine was viciously assaulted during a carjacking in Washington, the White House says it would consider giving the administration official a Presidential Medal of Freedom for his bravery. Okay, so he was chivalrous. This fucking... Calm the fuck down. Don't call names. Chivalry. I mean, she let Elon Musk put his rocket in her and give her a baby, and then bitches and complains about it. He's a piece of shit, but so is she. She doesn't understand what chivalry is. This guy, Big Balls, I mean, this is an amazing name, by the way. He does something, and she's like gonna mock it here because he stood up to some people.
Presidential Medal of Freedom.
This bitch can't get left and right. She can't get stereo sound right.
Getting his ass beat, which is fascinating because I was under the impression that Republicans were morally opposed to participation trophies.
Oh my God.
Since when does losing a street fight make you Rosa Parks? Maybe he is Rosa Parks. He refused to give up his seat, the driver's seat. Reverse Rosa Parks. Never give up your seat no matter what.
Yeah, he was true to his name.
Own the libs. But that's the trick, isn't it? Big Balls didn't just get beat up. He got promoted. He turned a bloody nose into a potential Medal of Freedom nomination. He turned 2 teenagers with sticky fingers into a national emergency.
Why am I watching this?
You and I are paying for it. So maybe that's the real lesson here, guys. Lose spectacularly and lose publicly. Forget winning. Winning is for amateurs. If you want to succeed in America, get your ass kicked in the right zip code by the right people.
By the way, I had to unblock her to be able to save this as a bookmark to find it later. I block all these bitches because they're in such just. This is crazy to me. Why am I watching this? Rosa Parks was a totally staged event, by the way. Yes, she was.
While knowing the right billionaire.
She knows.
President Trump has now used Big Balls now swarming the city. We can now use all that money that Big Balls and Doge saved by telling Medicare and Social Security recipients to get fucked. We can use all that money to make sure Big Balls has a platoon of military members, ensuring his backseat is always available for his non-committal flights.
I'm sorry,
There's
just skip
no
through.
problem too small that we won't militarize it. Guy gets punched in the face, deploy the National Guard. We'll park tanks outside his apartment in case of...
Okay, I can't handle this. Let's skip forward and see if she's getting any better. Still sunglasses on.
Why am I yawning like this? Oh, did I forget how to talk? You may have seen a woman by the name of Kendra Hilty. Kendra has exploded after telling the World Wide Web that she fell in love with her psychiatrist.
I can't.
Calling here from the CDC. We draw the line with services. California will get slightly better.
Oh, this I'm sorry, folks. This is all I could do. I was hoping that I reposted it. Let's undo the repost. Let's quote tweet this and go. Oh my God, she thinks she's. Should we say stand up? Someone let Tony Hinchcliffe know. There we go. That's I can't do it anymore. I'm sorry. This is it's cringe. It's cringe watching, but we're gonna have to just move on past. We're gonna have to move on past. Now let's. I'm not gonna do too much longer here, but let's go through some of my bookmarks. So she's one of them. Cigar. This is the guy. Let's check this lady out. This is the this lady is this is the Sigel Chata, the acting U.S. attorney who enabled the flight of accused Israeli child sex predator and cyber spy Tom Alexandrovich, campaigned for Nevada AG by boasting of her Israeli citizenship and pushing crass hatred of Muslims. Her campaign was called Israeli Born. Excuse me. Let's take a listen here.
Left is burning down our country and attacking Jews in the streets, and Ilhan Omar is fanning the flame. I'm Sigal Chattah, an Israeli-born lawyer running to be America's #1 conservative attorney general. I'll stand up to Ilhan Omar and take her team to...
Why do you have to be Israeli born? This is what cracks me up with this kind of stuff. I mean, I'm Russian born. I've got Putin in my blood. You're like, oh, what?
Support for defunding our police, opening our borders, and teaching our kids to hate each other based on the color of their skin. I need your help. The left is pouring money into this seat so they can put more criminals on the streets. Can you...
Okay, let's go back here because I think this is an important part.
The left is pouring money into this, opening our borders and teaching our kids to hate each other based on the color of their skin.
Okay, color of their skin. So that's different races here. So let's see. We have some other I thought I had. Let's go here because this is the Village Crazy Lady. I need to get her on the show sometime. Let's see. Did she post anything here with this lady? Because this lady had a whole. There we go. So color. This is the lady that says we're not supposed to hate people for the color of their skin, but she's like. There are millions of terrorists in Gaza. Lyra was there in their homes, and children, even their children, part of this. It's not just those carrying rifles and wearing green headbands. The so-called unequivocal civilians are not uninvolved at all. She also said there are no let me see here. Maybe we could get. There are no innocent civilians in Gaza. Okay, don't hate people for the no state here ever for these animals. Netanyahu needs to start acting like a Churchill instead of a Chamberlain and wipe Gaza off the map. Okay. All members of ICRC who were present in Gaza should be tried for crimes against humanity. Okay. So at least she's not, does she dislike people for the color of their skin? I don't know. There are no innocent civilians in Gaza. We said that one already. The rest warrants. Okay. Now let's do Gaza. 90% proud Hamas, 10% sacred Hamas, scared Hamas. No two-state solution with terrorists. Since we're declassing and labeling, let's go wild. Okay. What else did she say here? Okay, that one's gone. When you take Israeli hostages into Gaza, but you forget when they leave no one behind. Goodbye, Gaza. Good morning from Rafah. Gaza is unburdened by what has been, and it shows a bombed out place. She wants a ceasefire and doesn't care about the returning hostages, selling out Americans stuck in Gaza for her jihad friends. That's how radical she is. MAGA. Okay. The death by 1,000 lashes has not helped public opinion against Gaza. They should have finished Gaza in 6 days. Now half of Israel would hand Bibi to the ICC on a silver platter. I love that the dopey college students and activists that actually donate to finance some of these students' protests think their money goes to help the Palestinians in Gaza. Meanwhile, they're bankrolling sin wars, lavish lifestyle, and maybe. Donald Trump is 100% on the money. Blinken placed Israel top of the list for human rights violation. Israel could have wiped Gaza off the map in an hour, but they didn't care about civilians. If they did care. Biden supports the chaos on university campuses because Democrats would rather see America fall to a jihad than Trump in the White House. These max students wouldn't last 5 minutes in Gaza. I think we should do a social experiment, put them on a plane and send them all to be mercenaries. Oh, well, I'm sure their father would have a luxury. Okay, so she's going off about the Sinwar guy. I think there's some more stuff here. No ceasefire, no Palestinian state. The most they can have is walking out of Gaza alive. Okay. The United Nations aided and embedded in the massacre of thousands of Israelis and facilitated in the taking of hostages still held in captivity in Gaza. The United States collaborates with terrorists. Okay. When those innocent civilians, in quotes, were cheering and dancing in the streets of Gaza. Wait, dancing? She's talking about dancing Israelis? Defiled there. 85% of Gaza voted for Hamas, okay? I call this a great renovation. All these innocent civilians were cheering and singing as raped Israeli hostages and dead Israeli bodies were defiled and driven into Gaza on October 7th. Kill them all, and then 3 bombs. So that's what she thinks about... why are we watching Marilyn Manson? The Neoberg account is run by an Indian. Okay. Lady, you're scaring us. I believe that's true. How long are we in here? 7:05. We're almost in an hour. I'm not going to go too much longer, partly because we want to... I'm gonna do a thing on Friday. So this is if you go here to my Substack, people, tyleryonke.substack.com. Right on the front page, there's a whole Leo Frank trial and the ADL. This is links. Over and over, all these little links here to all these source materials, and then my stuff, my discussions about it for Leo Frank. It's fantastic. I bought more books recently. One thing I'm digging into, which I think you guys might be interested in, you got to put everything into context. 1913, U.S., the South. The North gets involved with the big advertisers of the time, the New York Times, and what is their feeling about blacks in the South? It's very interesting. So what I started to do, first of all, I'm like, what is it like in Georgia at this time, especially for a Jew, right? And they you look at the ADL, they talk about their bringing and the lynching of Leo Frank spawned the KKK, the second wave of the KKK. There's essentially three waves, okay? The first one comes about right with Nathan Bedford Forrest, right after the Civil War. And the whole concept at that time was to cause chaos because of Reconstruction. They didn't want this reintegration. They didn't want the North down here. It was essentially a federal district, and they didn't really have, as a matter of fact, if you look at the voting in the Civil Rights Act of 1865, the 14th Amendment passage of this, there's issues of is it even ratified correctly, because those southern states weren't actually part of the Union. What were they, right? They were under Reconstruction. They were under federal, lock and key. So anyway, you have that, and that's kind of what the first wave in about 1875, 1877, that kind of dissipates. Nathan Bedford Forrest is just kind of like, I can't handle this fucking shit. You guys are chaos. There's too much violence. There's a lot of violence. We're good with that, but maybe there's too much violence, and it was getting a little out of control. Reconstruction is kind of done anyway, and it dissipates. And then in 1915, it comes back again. But what you have to take into consideration with all this is, who are the targeted groups of the KKK? Who are part of the KKK? Were the Jews part of the KKK? We think in modern terms, right? It's almost like the Nazi Party, the white supremacists, the KKK. It's just all binds into one. And you're like, oh, Skokie, was that KKK? Was that Nazis? What do we, these famous cases? Because the Jews were targets. Okay, they were. And we'll talk about this, because part of the fascinating stuff is B'nai B'rith, this whole secret society of this Jewish that the ADL came out of. Then it split until 2009. They were still praising the KKK up and through the 1930s, the 1940s, and beyond. So the KKK at some point, what were they first against? They're against blacks. And then they're mostly just Christian. And then they really kind of start to be against Catholics, okay? They don't like the Catholics. They don't like the blacks, okay? And then they don't like communists. Now, what did we have in the 1930s, right? And around that area and a little bit up there, you had HUAC, you had McCarthyism, you had a lot of Jews that were really involved in the Communist Party. So at some point, the KKK starts to push back against Jews because of the communist influence. But when is that, right? When is that? And why does this matter? We're going to get all into this with Leo Frank, because I think it's really important. It's an important part of history, and to take that on. And then is this Din Rodef? Is this stuff that's, actually a Jewish conspiracy? We will break more of this down. We're going to go into it in detail on Friday. Come join us on the big show, the Nephilim Death Squad. And we're going to exit with some Tim Pool stuff here. I just thought I'd join in here, give you an idea of where I've been, what's going on. By the way, I had a text message with Cole today, Tower Gang Cole, and I'm like, do you miss Tower Gang? He goes, yeah, I miss Tower Gang, but I'm glad to have the free time. And I'm like, okay, so maybe we'll try to get him on the show. I'm off for the evening. Have a good night. Thank you, Red Ensign. Thanks for joining us. Once again, I got to keep going in here. I'll send out the links. Nephilim Death Squad Friday. I think it's like 9:30 in Pacific. 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, right around noon. For all you out there on the East Coast, we will see you Friday.
Stripes and bright stars through the
is it? Never mind.